Alright, I want to give a quick shout out to Corey Kluber and Steven Strausburg for getting hurt right after I did my predictions video. That's great. Thank you for that. I'll talk in a different video about how that affects what I was talking about. Also, Strausburg and Kershaw are hurt, but last I checked, it shouldn't take them out for a long time. So I'm not going to get too far into that right now. But last time we did the AL predictions, now I'm going to do the NL. We're doing it the same way, East to West, Cy Young, and MVP. So let's start with the NL East. First up, if they're still in the league, at the bottom we have the Miami Marlins. Originally, I was going to do a separate video on them and just talk about maybe they could be a little better than people expect, but now with the fact I think they had 16 players test positive, and they almost put the season on hold single-handedly, I think all I have to say is the Marlins are bad, and we know they're bad, and maybe, I don't think they're the worst team in the league. I would put them above, the Orioles and the Tigers, maybe even the Royals, maybe even the Mariners, but they might not be playing for the rest of the season. We'll see how that goes. So right above them, in fourth place, Draftneck Mark is going to love me, I'm putting the Philadelphia Phillies. Now, they're not a bad team. Harper is somehow become an underrated player. Plus, you got Hoskins, who's pretty good. Segura's pretty good. I'm a Yankees fan, so I gotta love Didi. And adding Zach Wheeler is a solid move. Now, I wanted them to go after Cole Hamels, bring him back, because I felt like they needed a lefty starter. But I don't think it would have made much of a difference. But they're just not a well-rounded team. I have no faith in Joe Girardi. I saw him with the Yankees, and I know everyone says he was good, but he really, really, really was not. He had no idea what he was doing. He couldn't handle a bullpen. And the Phillies don't have a bullpen. They have one. Nicasio is the only, decent bullpen pitcher. So maybe they can make it to third or second place if Bryce Harper goes out of his mind, which is always possible. But they're not. I have them at fourth place. Right above them, the number 3 and number 2 teams, it depends on a couple. So number 3, I have the Washington Nationals. I would have them at number 2 if Juan Soto was playing, and I think he's still not playing yet. If he were, I think they're a number 2 team. But just looking at their offense, I really don't like it. I know Howie Kendrick had a great playoffs, but he's not that player. He just got on a hot streak, which is really all you need right now, but that was one hot streak out of his entire career. Eric Thames is a solid, not great power hitter. Ryan Zimmerman isn't playing. Suzuki and Gomes are a fine platoon, but they're not going to bring the offense. You lost Rendon. Strausburg is hurt right now, and I said I wouldn't go too much into it, but he's what you spent your offseason on. It was getting him back. Now, I like Trey Turner a lot. I think he's a solid shortstop, and I think Adam Eaton's pretty underrated too. But outside of that, I just don't see too much good things happening. Number 2, I don't know how they managed this, but I'm going New York Mets. The Mets project to be the number 2 team, and I don't know that they are. I actually think they're pretty damn bad. Because even if they have a solid roster, which they don't right now, they have a kind of crappy at best roster, they managed to fumble it, Remember how hyped everyone was about Daniel Murphy? And then in the World Series, he forgot how to field the ball, then left? Yeah, that's what the Mets do. The Mets are never a good team. My computer is going off, ignore that. The Mets are never a good team. And they pretend they are every year. They throw out guys like Yoenis Cespedes and Robinson Cano and pretend like they're competitive, and they're not. That being said, DeGrom is the best pitcher in the league, and that's coming from a Yankees fan. Syndergaard's not playing, but Cespedes has actually looked pretty good so far, and you can't deny Pete Alonso's talent. Dude's got a great bat, so I have them at second. At first place, I have the Atlanta Braves. They don't have much of a challenge here, even if I don't think they're the best team on the planet. They got a really good offense. Acuna, Albies, Freeman now that he's playing. Who else you got there? Inciarte's good. Ozuna. Austin Riley hit a moonshot against the Mets. What was it? 2 days ago? From when I'm recording this. So while the Braves pitching staff might be a little below average, or maybe about average, you'd be surprised how 12 starts from Mike Soroka can pretty much get you to the playoffs. Because Mike Soroka looks like he's going to be a stud. Let's move on to the Central. Now the Central is the most wide open division. There are 4 teams that I can believe can make it, and one team that might be some people's dark horse, but no. That one quote-unquote dark horse team is the Pirates. Y'all, the Pirates are bad, and I wish they weren't. PNC Park is amazing. I really want to go watch a game there, but I mean, you're putting your faith into Gregory Polanco, who has never showed how good he'd be. Let's look at his stats real quick. He's never been more than a slightly above average player. You know, and he came up in 2014. He's 28 years old now. He's got to make a jump at some point, or he's never going to. And that might be where we're at right now. So you're putting your faith in him and Josh Bell, who had a great half season last year. Now, if you could get on a streak like that, you're good, but I still don't see you making any noise in the NL Central, especially because there are 4 good teams there. So at number 4, I have the Chicago Cubs. The Cubs recently have managed to fumble everything they've gotten. You know, you still have Rizzo and Bryant and Baez and a bunch of other really good players. You know, Wilson Contreras. But what are you doing with them? Your starting pitching has been decent at best, right? John Lester's not the John Lester of the Red Sox. Kyle Hendricks, in his first start, was shit hot, and he seems to be really good, but you need more than him, and your bullpen has nothing. Craig Kimbrell got destroyed yesterday. I don't know what happened to Craig Kimbrell, but he is clearly not the same pitcher he was in Atlanta or San Diego or Boston. And hiring David Ross, a dude that does not have management experience, I really don't like that move. I was fine with moving on from Madden, because clearly something wasn't working there. But you got a manager just to please the fans instead of for fit. That's a big problem. So right above them, I think I'm going Milwaukee Brewers. Now, Christian Yelich, anytime that dude steps up to the plate is a threat. You know, he's an absolute beast, a monster. I could have told you that when he was playing for Miami. But besides that, I don't care too much about their offense. I mean, I like Lorenzo Cain's fun. They got Omar Narvaez. He's a fine catcher. But they don't excel at one thing or another because their pitching is not great either. And they did nothing to improve it, really. So I feel like they're fine with just letting Christian Yelich take them to the playoffs, and that's not going to work for much longer. So right above them, I have my favorite National League team, the Cincinnati Reds. Now, the Reds could go one way or another. They could top the division, they could be worse than the Pirates, you know? But Mike Moustakas was a great pickup. I really, really, really like their pitching staff, and they've been great so far. The bullpen's a little iffy, and you do have some questions in the field. Like, are you really going to go forward with Freddie Galvis at short? Although he's been pretty good, and Kurt Casale catching. You know, how is Votto going to age? Is Suarez that good? Is Senzel a center fielder? These are questions, but they are good questions to have. Because what you're questioning is how good are these players? Not are these players good? That's what the Pirates are asking. You know Votto is going to walk 1,000 times. The question is he still a top-tier 320 to 350 hitter? Suarez is going to hit a bunch of home runs. What you're asking is can you do more? So on and so forth. So I think second place is a good place to put him. Now, number one, and this would be the least shocking to me if they didn't win the division, the St. Louis Cardinals. They have to base, everyone in baseball has to base themselves on a hot early start. And the Cardinals are not known for that, especially Paul Goldschmidt, who's their superstar. Goldschmidt has to prove that he won't always get off to a slow start, because he does. If he gets off to a slow start, there's not too many people to pick up the pace on that. So he really has to get at it. Don't get me wrong, I like the team. You got Harrison Bader there, he's great. Yachty's been actually doing pretty good for his advanced age. But right now is the moment to show that Goldschmidt can be the best player on a great team. Now, you also have Flaherty, and you got Carlos Martinez in the bullpen, so you got some good pitching there. And that's why I think they topped the division. They're kind of more of a well-rounded team than anyone else here. But if they were to fall behind the Reds, the Brewers, the Cubs, I wouldn't be surprised. One or all of those teams. Heading out west, last place we go with the team that pisses me off more than any other team, the San Francisco Giants. What the hell is wrong with you guys? Why didn't you trade Bumgarner when you had a chance to and would have gotten something back for him? You hold on because you think you're going to be competitive in the NL West? That was ridiculous. We're going to win a ring like every other year, but in the year we were not winning rings, we're just going to be completely worthless. We're going to beat up Buster Posey to the point where he probably shouldn't be catching anymore. We're going to have Brandon Crawford randomly stop being a good player. Same thing with Brandon Belt. And we're going to keep bringing back Pablo Sandoval. Like, you got to make up your mind here. And all the talent is not playing. I believe Belt's not playing. I know Posey isn't. Bumgarner's in Arizona. You have zero chance. You have to deal with, like, Evan Longoria coming up big for you. And that's just not Longo anymore. Number 4, right above them, another team that pisses me off to no avail. The Colorado Rockies. You had like a 2 or 3 window where you had it, you could compete, and you threw it away. You have no pitching outside of German Marquez. Like, that's it. A guy who, yeah, maybe on a different team he would be the ace, but you have never developed pitching. What the hell happened to Kyle Friedland? And I know Ubaldo had the opposite problem where he became bad after Colorado, but other than that, you have no noteworthy pitchers in your franchise history. Not only that, you pissed off Arenado to no end, so that right after he signs an extension, he now wants to leave. That's the last thing you should want to do. Arenado is your guy. Now, you might have to trade him, despite the fact he is the best third baseman in the league. Just terrible, terrible, terrible moves. Plus, you let LeMahieu walk, which, as a Yankee fan, I love, but you're stupid for that. Number 3, the most overrated team in the National League, the Arizona Diamondbacks. Look, they got Bumgarner, who I will always question. I don't think he's the best pitcher, but he is very good. You got Starling Marte. You got some good pieces here and there, but it's not going to gel the way they think they do. Robbie Ray, I don't think is that great of a starter outside of striking people out. Ketel Marte, I think is a very good player, but he's not going to have a near MVP season like he did last year. You're relying too much on questionable players is what I should be saying. Like Cole Calhoun. He's a good defender with a great arm and a decent power bat. But that's just not going to... I don't think he's going to be all that you think he will. So really, I don't see the Diamondbacks going... I mean, they could be a second-place team because the West is kind of weak. But I don't think they're that great. Number 2, this is probably my hottest take so far, the San Diego Padres. I don't think they're that great of a team, but I just think in the West, you know, you only have to play West teams. You're telling me they can't beat the Rangers, the Mariners, the Angels on a consistent basis? I think they'll be close games, but I think they can. Chris Paddock and Fernando Tatis Jr. are hopefully going to be healthy, which is huge. Hosmer's actually playing a little bit right now. He's not as terrible as he usually is. If we look up his stats, he's already got a home run. He's got 7 RBIs. He's scored a run. He's walking. He's doing all these great, great, great things. Last year, he had a 93 OPS plus, and he couldn't field the ball. Like, he's already made just this step, which is what you want to see. you know? So Hosmer looks better. You got Machado. You got Tommy Pham, who I said really good things about. I think they could make it to second place. Now, number one, there's no question. I think they're the best team in the league, the Los Angeles Dodgers. The question about the Dodgers is not their regular season. It's going to be in the postseason. And is Dave Roberts competent manager? Which, spoiler alert, no, he's not. You got Mookie Betts, and then you locked him up, which is just such a great deal. And you didn't even give up that much for Betts. You still got Bellinger, who's a top-tier player. You were able to hold on to Jock Peterson, who I think is a great player. You got Justin Turner, who's going to continue to hit. You got Will Smith, who seems to be a really good player. You just pull stuff out of your ass and it works. You know, their minor league development's so great. And I know Kershaw is hurt, and their pitching depth isn't quite the same as it was, but you still got stuff there. You know? I think Walker Buehler could be a top-tier pitcher in the league. Moving on to Cy Young. In the number 3 spot is another hot take here. I'm going Luis Castillo from the Reds. I want to see this every year. I want to see Luis Castillo just break out and show that ungodly changeup that is just damn unhittable. I want to show just how good he is. And last year, he took a huge step. He was an all-star last year. Now I want to see him take it an extra step further. If he's a Cy Young contender, there is no stopping the Reds. Because you get on that pitching staff with him, Sonny Gray, Trevor Bauer, Wade Miley. It's just what you want. Number 2. I said he was the best pitcher in the game. I'm going Jacob deGrom. You know, his opening day start was great, even though the Mets let him down. I know they won the game, but they let down deGrom. deGrom could do anything he wants on the mound, and I think the one thing holding him back from winning the Cy Young is they're not going to want to give someone 3 straight Cy Youngs, which means they're going to give it to number 1, Jack Flaherty. Jack Flaherty last year showed what he could do in half a season, and that's really what you want to look at here, is just these hot streaks. And my God, his second half last year, he was untouchable. So I think he could do it for another 60 games. That's all you need for Cy Young. You don't need to start 30 games this year. And he's someone that, if he gets on a hot streak, he's running with that. So I think that's how he gets it this year. Moving on to MVP. Number 3, I have Fernando Tatis Jr. The dude could just do it all. He's a great defender. He's a great hitter. He's got speed, and his speed creates more offense, and his offense creates more opportunity for speed, so on and so forth. He's just that good of a player, and as I said, I expect the Padres to take a jump. I expect him to take a jump with them. Number 2, as I've said, a guy that could go on a hot streak, Cody Bellinger. He started off last year so hot, that basically propelled him to win MVP last year. Why not do it again? Just keep that going. Now, I don't think he's going to have as hot of a start as he did last year, which is why he won't win MVP. I have someone else winning MVP. But Bellinger, just a guy that could do everything, and now with more lineup protection, you're telling me he can't compete again? So he's my number 2 pick. Number 1 is a guy I watched go on such a hot streak. A pitcher needed to hit him and injure him to stop it. Ronald Acuna Jr. The dude goes on these streaks where he's only hitting home runs and stealing bases. And if he could do that for 60 games, just go on a hot streak like that, no one's better. And I think a lot of people have been predicting him to win MVP. So I don't think this is a hot take at all. He just seems like he can make that jump at such a young age. And without Juan Soto, he might be the best young player in the game. But that is what I've got for you. Those are my NL predictions. I made my AL predictions last video. If you want to know how I think the playoffs will work, I'm going to say that the Dodgers are going to blow a bunch, and the Braves are going to make it to the World Series, and I'll take Yankees over Braves. But that's all I've got. Next video will be about basketball, because I feel like 2K, you're going to see that. That's a basketball thing, as much as it doesn't sound like it, but still. But let me know what else you want to hear about. But in the meantime, this has been Jax. I'll catch you on the flip side.